folks, it's Harrison with Mainly Acres Farms, and I'm going to bring you down a bit. Okay, there we are. Alrighty guys, hey, it's Harrison with Mainly Acres Farms. Thank you for joining me on the homestead this evening. Tonight's video, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up all the processing that I was able to get done on this hemp and show you the final product that I was able to get to. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the support that you've shown us on our previous videos on processing hemp. It has been amazing. YouTube has actually gone back and reviewed our first video that we put out and allowed it to be monetized. Thanks to you guys. So please show us support on this video, because more than likely it's going to be demonetized before it's even uploaded to you guys. And also check out our last video on processing hemp, because it's still demonetized and they haven't reviewed it yet. So please share this video across your social media and help us get those views. Alrighty, so enough of the YouTube political stuff. Hopefully you guys are still hanging in there, because I want to show you how to get your hemp fibers from this process here, which is the last process we left you off with, to this fine fiber right here. And this stuff here would easily be able to be used for making a softer cloth or material than the burlap that we normally associate hemp fibers feeling like. So if you guys are interested in that, stay tuned, because I'm going to go over everything you need to do, things that you can make or use to get your stalks from this here to this here. Alrighty folks, as you guys can see in front of us here, we have a whole bunch of hemp fiber and different processes along the line and processing it down to the fine fibers. And I just wanted to go over each one of those different processes real briefly. And the reason why I went ahead and did all this for you guys, because processing hemp is very time and labor intensive, and I wanted to make this video a viewable video for you guys. So I went ahead and did everything, and I've left a little bit of fiber in every stage, so that way I can kind of walk you through it and show you how I was able to turn this thick stuff here into the fine fiber that you guys see right back here. So the first thing we'll dive into is, this is probably what your stalks are going to look like when you got through our last phase that we were talking about. So these have been removed from the hard woody stalk, and they've been allowed to dry. So they're nice and dry, pretty rigid. So the next process we're going to want to get into is the scutching process of the hemp fiber to loosen it up a bit. Now, I have found many different ways of scutching hemp fiber, but the best ways I've found for having no equipment at all, and a very easy way on a small scale, is just to take your fiber in between your hand like so and rub it back and forth like this. And what that's going to do is it's going to help break up the hard outer core on here and kind of loosen those fibers up. So you can do that. You can bend them in your hands like such, breaking those harder fibers up. Another great method that I use that I really thought saved a whole bunch of time, instead of just doing it all by hand, is to take a nice rounded corner. This is our wood stove, and it is a piece of metal, but the corner is nice and rounded on it. So what I did was I just took my fiber and just kind of worked it, making sure to go in one direction and moving to the next spot. I found that if you take it and just work it back and forth like such, the fibers will break in that area, because it's just way too much stress on the fibers at this point in the processing. So I like to take it and just hold it like this and do downward strokes, and then work my way up the fiber, just keeping that one direction going down, and then I'll spin it over to the other side and do the same thing. Another cool way of scutching that I just thought of during the holiday season and when we were processing our deer is using a cutting board as a scutching board. So if you guys aren't familiar with how they used to scutch hemp and flax back in the good old day, they had these huge boards, and they had a hole cut in the top of it to hold their fibers through, and take a wooden sword and just kind of come at a downward motion on the fibers and scutched them that way. So I thought a real cool way to do this on a small scale is get yourself a cutting board. Doesn't that resemble a scutching board? Well, the ones I've seen it does anyhow. Anyway, if you want to use this method, you just take it and put it down on a flat surface and kind of hold it at an angle. You're going to take your hemp fiber, you're going to thread it through the top hole here. You're going to hold your fiber from behind the cutting board like such, so that way your hands aren't above or anywhere near here. You're going to take your scutching sword, which this is just for demonstration purposes. A scutching sword is usually a piece of wood. So using something like this I wouldn't recommend because you're going to break and cut your fibers. But if you guys had a ruler or something like that, you would use the same process. Now I'm just showing you the processing here, and you're probably going to see a lot of these fibers breaking. It's because I'm using this metal spatula, but it was the only thing I could find at the moment of shooting this video. So what it's going to look like when you get your ruler or whatever for your scutching board is you just go down on a downward motion like such. And what this is doing is it's breaking off that outside material. See, just lost a piece there. And it's another piece. It's teasing those fibers so that way you can go to the next process, which is the combing process, and refine them down even more. But as you guys can see, not a good idea to use a metal spatula like this one for coming down on that, because you're going to lose a lot of your fiber doing that. So find yourself a wooden ruler. So that's going to lead us to the next process in here, which is the combing process. Now this is was traditionally called a fiber comb or a hackle, and what they were is basically what you see here. It's a piece of hardwood, sometimes lined with a piece of metal on the top and the bottom, and they have nails sticking right through them, so that way you can comb out your fiber. And I looked these up on eBay and different places for processing fiber, and you wouldn't believe how expensive these are. And I thought, well, I'm not going to buy it, I'm just kind of testing this out. I'm going to make my own. So all I did was I took a piece of hardwood, this piece of cherry here, I flipped it over on the back side, I drilled a whole bunch of holes in the back, and I just slid the nails through. And then this stuff that you see on the back here is two-part epoxy. It's JB Weld, and I just put a layer of that on the back side of it so that way it would hold the nails in place. But that's as easy as it is to make these things. Get your piece of hardwood, 16 penny common nails here, and these are finishing nails, and you just want to make sure that you get nice and long ones here, so that way you have plenty of room to pull that fiber across on it. And just simply drill it, put them in there, throw your JB Weld on, and you're good to go. This cost me, the nail, these 16 pennies I had, so that was free. The wood I had, that was free. The JB Weld I had left over from another project, so that was free. The only thing I had to go out and buy were these finishing nails that were long enough. And I think I bought all of these finishing nails for like $3. So if you figured $3 for the nails, that's $6 in nails. If you had to buy a little piece of hardwood, maybe a couple bucks there, $5 at the most. Your JB Weld to do the back of this, you'll buy one, small tube, the two-part tube, and that will be more than enough to do this project. So you're looking at maybe it costs somebody, if they didn't have all this stuff, 10 to 15 bucks to make one of these. But if you wanted to go buy one of these online, looking to spend a couple $100 to $100 on these. I mean, it's ridiculous, really ridiculous. So let's get in how to use this thing. As you guys can see, there's a set of nails that are larger and further spaced apart than the other set, and this is called your primary comb here, and this is where we're going to start working the fiber on. So what you would do is you would take your fiber here, and this fiber here is in a separate pile because this is what the fiber looks like when you have passed it through this comb. But I'll just give you a quick demonstration of how to use the comb. Now you guys can see that there's different fluff balls on here. This is simulating the toe material that you would be left over when working your fiber through these. So I'll just give you a quick demonstration. You just slap your fiber over the nails and pull it through. And that's all you're doing. And a slapping motion like such is working the fiber through these nails here. Once you've done that and your fiber looks like this, see how it's pulled apart a little bit more, then you'll want to run it through your finer comb down here. So we'll come over here to this sample, and I'll flip it around because the back side of that sample's for a different different thing to show you. But you just take that and you do the same thing. You're going to slap it down. I'll work down here. Slap it down and pull it through, and you'll see that some of the fiber is still left over and left in here. This material here, don't throw that away because that's considered your toe material, and you can put that in a separate pile. Now I like to keep the toe materials from the different processes in different piles, so that's why you'll see that I have a pile here. And take a look at that. That's about what the material looks like at this point in stage. See it, there's still a lot of big pieces in there. And this material here is what it looks like here on the finer side. So make sure to keep these piles of hemp here, because you can use these for making cordage, you can use them for making rope, and also making paper. So make sure to save those. So like I said, again on here, if I didn't already show that, is just working it through these cones like this in a slapping motion. You guys can see I'm working it pretty good there, and you'll see some stuff flying off. And that's going to get it to the next stage. So obviously after you've thrown it through this comb, this is what the fiber looks like. And so now we just have one more process to go from here to get to the final fineness stage, if you will. And so that's when we're going to turn this bundle around and show you this side. Now this side here is what the fiber looks like after you've ran it through, here, get you a better shot, after you've ran it through the carding comb. And all you do here is to hold your bundle kind of taut here in the middle, take yourself your carding comb here. I like to position it kind of like the card on my belly here. Let me scoot this over so I can get into frame here. Put the card on my belly, with my other hand put some downward pressure on the fiber and just pull that through. And you keep repeating this process here. And that's it. And now our fibers here are starting to look like really nice little strands of hair, if you will. Alrighty, so the length of this fiber is about 2 foot worth of fiber when all said and done. So not a bad return on the length that you can get from using this material. Now you guys remember that this was medically grown marijuana, and it's completely different from the industrial hemp. But even still, with it being the medical marijuana, you're still able to get really nice, long, usable fibers. With the hemp, your fibers would be 3 times, or industrial hemp, the fibers would be 3 times as long as what we're getting from this plant. So I want to wrap this up with showing what you can do with your toe material. So you have a lot of this left over and you want to make a cordage out of it. What you can do with this finer fiber here is you can take this finer material and run it through 2 carding combs, and when you do that, you're going to get something that looks like this. Now you can see it's real nice, light in color, and that's because we decided to use this toe material instead of this over here. If we were to start off with this material here, it would be a lot harder of combing through the combs because it's still not teased up enough as this is. So I find if you're going to hand card any of your toe piles, I would go with the last stage here with this material here, and this is what you'll be left with. You can see that there's still a couple of solid pieces in there, but for the most part it's turned into a nice, real fluffy kind of a cloud, if you will. This is perfect for making cordage, and I made some cordage, so let me show you what it looks like when you make some. Now when you're making the cordage, you can use a drop spindle or you can use your hand, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of this fluff here and start spinning it with your fingers. I used a little bit of water when I was going along and just added a little bit of water and just pull a little bit more from the pile and twist as you go. And if you do that, you'll come up with some stuff that looks just like this. These are a couple pieces of cordage that I made, just sample pieces. This is a thinner piece than this one here. I pulled quite a bit of material when I was twisting that together. But just to show you how strong this is, I'll take the thinnest of the two here and give it a pull test and show you how rugged it is. So to be fair, we'll grab at the very end of this fiber here, so we're not cheating. So grab at the very end here, and I'm going to push my nail into my finger so that way it holds it a bit better. I'm going to come down here and grab on the very tip of this one here, put my nail under there, and pull. I don't know if you guys can see my knuckles turning white, but I cannot not pull this apart. So it would be real interesting to actually put this on a machine, and you can see where it bent from my fingernail in it. I'd like to get a machine to test, you know, how strong this is, but there's no way you're going to pull this apart. So that's just really amazing that I was able to make stuff like this, make twine like this that was so strong, and I made that from the waste material here. Now for the actual final product, or the final stuff that we were really looking for, this stuff here could be made into clothing, into you know, different types of materials that you want around your house, and that you could actually have close to your skin and not irritate you. This feels nowhere like burlap, and I think that it's just really cool that you can get your fiber down to this fine stuff here to make fine linen, if you will. You could probably go through another chemical processing of making these even softer, but I mean, even at this point here, I would be completely comfortable with that as a t-shirt. Alrighty folks, well that's going to wrap us up. I hope you thought this video was helpful. As always, share it across your social medias. Help us get the views on here, because I guarantee you it's going to be demonetized by the time it gets uploaded. And as always, spend time with that family and take care. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving and got to spend quality time with family members. If not, hey, remember there's always next year. Take care, guys.